I did watch, and unfortunately, there wasn't anything that wowed me, so I fell asleep. But fortunately, I did watch this show prior to that that actually did cover the incredible AV and technology that was put into place to make this production happen. And that was absolutely fantastic.
Leveraging Olympic AV to enhance customer experiences, the AVIXA Market Report shows mixed results and the importance of experience centers. All that and more next on AV Week. This is AV Week, episode 676, recorded Friday, August 2nd, 2024. End user experience. This is AV Week, the weekly wrap-up of the biggest news and information we have gathered for the AV world. My name is Tim Albright. I am your host. With us to discuss the news and information we have gathered this week, first and foremost, Dan Farisi from Commercial Integrator and Security Sales Integration. Welcome, sir.
Thank you so much, Tim, for having me once again.
Absolutely, and we'll talk about him and the way we'll get to hang out with him at CEDIA and CI Expo in a bit. We'll talk about that. Craig Durr is with us from Collab Collective. Welcome, sir.
Hello, everyone. How are you?
Good. And last but not least, a gentleman who swung in quite literally at the last minute because it's a long story. We had a guest say, I got a meeting. Danny Hayasaka from Call One. Welcome, sir.
What's up?
Dude. You're awesome. Just in general, you're just awesome. He has an epic beard if you've never seen the video. Just a great human being. And yeah, he's awesome to hang out with. So I appreciate it. A couple of stories we got this week. First and foremost, our friends over at AVIXA, they typically put out a monthly report on kind of the state of the industry, and they've got a new one out for June. And here's the thing. It's kind of a mixed economic picture, and Peter Hansen did an interview in AV Network, avnetwork.com, as our friends over at SCN. You can read that. The link will be on the website. But there's a little bit of growth continuing, moderate, but it's growing. After falling short a couple of in recent months, the AV sales index, the AVI-S, registered 56.6 in June. In May, it was 60. So a slight dip, not a huge thing. Now, despite the softer numbers, Peter says, Hansen again from AVIXA, he remains optimistic about a potential rebound. Meanwhile, here in the States, hiring in the U.S. In July slowed down. So hiring was down. Earnings, though, in other words, what everybody is making, was up 3.6%. Not a huge jump, but it's still a slight growth. The AV employment index remained relatively stable, providing a silver lining and alleviating concerns about significant industry weakness. This report comes as the broader U.S. economy continues to show resilience currently with robust job growth, but a slight uptick in unemployment, potentially influencing the Federal Reserve's policy decisions in coming months. We say all that in the same time that all of us, we're recording this the first part of August. Since the first of the year, and I'm going to argue probably the end of last year, economists have been talking about this potential recession, this coming softening. Various ways to say that, but there is an economic something coming. There's also an election year. So maybe that's it. I don't know. Dan, I'm going to bring this in, start with you on this. When you look at this and you look at the AV index, you look at the current economic system and economic situation, and all of these really smart economists who are saying, hey, hang on for a second, don't get too crazy. Where do we see AV fitting in the overall sense of the economy and the economic outlook?
Well, I appreciate you coming to me with that, Tim, because as you know, Commercial Integrator really does try to lean into the business aspects of the technology industry as much as possible. And it is somewhat concerning to me to see the sales index ticking lower. I know the AV employment index was nearly steady, but I look at it against the context of the macro economy that you pointed out. I don't know that there are any causes that are endemic to our industry that are causing like the sales reading to tick down. But I am seeing some of that macroeconomic weakness you talked about. I mean, even right now, the stock market has been rolling back a little bit. I mean, it hasn't been cratering, but it has been rolling back. The disappointing jobs report and unemployment, I think, is now 4.3%. I believe the low had been 3.4%. So it's up almost a full percentage point. And then earlier this week, the ISM manufacturing PMI was showing the manufacturing sector is continuing to contract. So although I'm not predicting a recession, and certainly, I take my cues from Peter. He's incredibly knowledgeable. And every time I speak to him, I feel like I learned something. But I think it's fair to say the economy is not blazing right now. For a while there, it seemed like it was. And I know we have been talking, as you say, there have been a lot of recessionary worries for like 2 years now. It's been kind of angst about a possible recession. And I think sometimes that's almost like a doom loop where people keep saying, oh, is it going to happen? Oh, is it going to happen? It almost can be self perpetuating. But it is a little bit alarming. It seems like things are slowing down. Some companies might be retrenching a little bit. And I think, the high interest rates, of course, it still makes it very expensive to borrow money. And anytime it's very, very expensive to borrow money, it can be expensive to invest. It can be expensive to level up what you want to do. So quite honestly, and I'm certainly no economist, I kind of wish Jay Powell and the Fed had cut rates earlier this week when they had a chance. It almost seems like they may be a little bit behind the ball, and I think that makes me at least somewhat concerned about our fate in AV.
Greg, Dan pointed out a couple of things that was I was actually already writing down. The Fed, and the cost of money is certainly increased. You've got this overarching inflation, even though inflation has eased a bit, it's still there. And you've got all these other concerns. Where do you, when you're talking to your clients, but also the folks that are specifiers, where do you see the economy as far as AV?
It's interesting. So, I prepared a 5-year forecast a couple of months ago, and I went back and revisited because I wanted to look at some of those macro impacts taking place. And I looked at it from a regional point of view, and apologize while I'm looking at my notes because it's a complex story. In the North America area, one of the things that we're dealing with is that post-pandemic trend of employment, right? And if you double click in those numbers, you'll and people are like, well, 4.3, to Dan's point, has gone a whole percentage point up. But there's nuances within that market. Some areas are doing well, but the things that we care about, information technology, that type of investment, actually is being the one that's taking the hit the hardest there. Hence, we see colleagues and people within the industry announcing layoffs or things along that lines as well too. Interest rates are high, and although we never officially hit a recession, EMEA did. And EMEA, as declared, is also dealing with some challenges there. One of the interesting things that is actually bolstering our economy, although this earnings week is kind of questioning that, is AI and AI investments. And I'm sorry to bring that in. It's like the two ideas,
At least
but
once or twice a show now. It's fine.
it, it's there's a higher adoption of AI technologies, it seems to be within the North America market, driving a little bit more activity in that space. How does it going to translate to the AV market? I don't know, unless there's ongoing exuberance, if you will, or rationalization on AV spend across not just what I'm doing around data and AI, but around audio, video infrastructure and things along that lines as well too. So I guess what I'm trying to reinforce with Dan is it is a complex story. I mean, there's no single answer or silver bullet, and I think you're going to find answers in each of these regions being slightly different. I expect North America is going to maintain some of its growth, if you will. It's going to be cautious but growth. I think APAC and EMEA may take the hit of this downturn here, and that's probably what's going to take place in terms of those sales of AV devices and services.
All right, Danny, of the four of us, you're the one who has direct contact with clients and folks buying these things. So what are you seeing?
Yeah, so it's interesting that those statements are being made. So I have a different perspective on it because I'm the person that's involved in a lot of the demonstrations and a lot of the conversations with the end users. And I mean, I literally, I typically go into the office once a week. I've been there every day for the last 2 weeks because of customer demos. And I think that the reason for that is customers are looking for different options. They're looking for alternatives to what they have been doing and how they've been uh, moving forward with video and saying, whoa, 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 is there an alternative that's maybe easier and less expensive? And I think that's where folks like us come into play because we are approaching the video conferencing world anyway for organizations differently than their traditional AV integrators. We go for the simplicity and less
You make
cost.
a good point there. Is they still need the technology, right?
Oh
They still
yeah.
need the solution.
Oh yeah.
They're just looking for the best cost-effective way to do that.
Exactly. Yes. And sometimes it's simple.
Our technology is in a lot of ways is supportive of just business continuity. The business has to go on in tough times, and the ability to communicate, collaborate, and move the business forward is essential. But to Danny's point, I can absolutely see that. Where how can I do it more cost effective? How can I get more productivity out of it, and how much can I have more impact for what I'm doing as well? It'd be interesting when you guys go to this show in the next couple of months to see what you're seeing vendors talk about. Is the spend going to be in more of the collaboration elements of what we're doing, or is it going to be in the experiential elements, the large elements that kind of have, uh, you know, good impact, but they're expensive and they take a little bit longer for that value to be realized?
That's a very nice segue into our next story, Craig. I appreciate that. From AV Magazine, Paris 2024 Olympics kicked off with a nice display, not incredible, of AV, while showcasing the city's commitment to innovation and sustainability. This is not a political discussion. This is not an athletic discussion. We're talking about tech. You can at me if you want. We are not talking about any of the BS other than that. And I will tell you, I watched all 3 hours of the Paris opening ceremony. As somebody who loves technology, as somebody who has covered this industry, I have to say, I sat there with my notepad and I had 3 things written down, and those 3 were a struggle to get 3 out of them. Now, Celine Dion was freaking amazing. There were some really interesting things there, but it was not Beijing, right? And Beijing, to me, and we're going to have this discussion. Beijing opening games was the penultimate AV display of AV in Olympics in the last 20 years, probably. One of the standout features was the Olympic cauldron's 7-meter diameter quote unquote ring of fire. This was created using 40 LED lights and water mist. This offers an environmentally friendly alternative to the traditional fossil fuel. They're basically burning gas for 2 weeks. The opening ceremony also featured projection mapping display on the Eiffel Tower, also combining spotlights, moving lights, lasers, and intricate visuals to cap off the event. Panasonic Connect's installation of 130 projectors across the different venues marks the largest ever projector development in Olympic history. This promises to elevate the visual experience throughout the games, including these high-tech elements. One of the things that's interesting about this is you have all of these various parts and pieces coming together. You have the world watching quite literally, which is why I mentioned at the top, we're not going to talk about politics because that comes into it. Certainly athleticism. But Craig, why don't you start with you on this? You mentioned in the previous story kind of the wow factor. How can we use things like the Olympics and go, see, AV is cool and we can do some really cool stuff?
You are bringing up some great points. I actually felt more impressed when I was at the Sphere just a couple of months ago at
100%.
Yeah, exactly. And you and I joked about this on the last webcast I was on with you, where you have a couple of thousand AV geeks around that thing, and we're looking for LED lights going out. We're asking where the speakers are located and things like that. There wasn't anything that I sat back like you and said, where is the hidden technology making that wow factor? Because one, I wanted it to be wow, and two, I wanted to say how'd they do it. And I, just like you, I sat back and I did not have a hard time. Now, I will give them credit. If this was a lead into the NAB show, I think their production quality of what we saw from the television point of view all around the city was pretty cool. I mean, we toured the city and sitting in my my lounge chair there, seeing what was going on. But what took place in those different spaces didn't push the boundary, right? We saw at Barcelona. We see the image projecting taking place on the Gaudi building.
Yep.
The Sphere. We've seen some beautiful LED things and sound as well. I tend to agree with you. I didn't see something pushing that limit there for me.
Danny, same kind of question. Is how can we leverage something like this? Again, the world is watching this, so how can we, from a global or even an individual customer standpoint, go, hey, see that? We can do that.
Yeah, so I did watch, and unfortunately, there wasn't anything that wowed me, so I fell asleep. But fortunately, I did watch this show prior to that actually did cover the incredible AV and technology that was put into place to make this production happen, and that was absolutely fantastic because you had basically a whole world or half of a world brought to Paris, and then the other half is over in New York, and they're both communicating in real time and showing the multiple. I mean, just hundreds, if not thousands, of different screens that they're all having to pay attention to and watch and broadcast. I thought that was absolutely phenomenal. But the show itself, like I said, I fell asleep. Sorry.
All right. Mr. Parisi, beyond the Paris Olympics, we have a couple other international shows coming up here in the next few years. Where else can we look to say, hey, look, again, a marquee show, a marquee event like the Paris Olympics that folks can kind of look to as inspiration for their next experiential installation.
Yeah, I think the experiential thing is so important. So whether it's the Olympics, I think the next one is it in Los Angeles? I don't remember. I think the next one is
So in
stateside.
4 years, it'll be in LA. Yep.
In LA, yeah. So I mean, I think these kind of events, whether it's the Olympics or something else that gets the world's attention, are incredibly important. And I think what it brings to me is we're talking about the word experience, and that's something that AVIXA leans into a lot these days, and I think it's something we should be leaning into a lot because to me. AV is about a lot more than spec sheets. It's about a lot more than black boxes. I mean, I remember going to Infocom shows in '05, '06, and you would just see these booths festooned with black boxes, and you get the spec sheets and all that. But what it's really about is the excitement and the awe and looking at something in wonderment. I have to admit, I didn't watch the show, so I can't commiserate with you about being impressed or unimpressed with this particular Olympic pregame ceremony. But I think that's really what it's all about. I want people to, whether it's looking at the Eiffel Tower and projection mapping, the AV infused like Olympic Ring of Fire. I want people to be wowed by AV, for it to be truly an experiential, awe-inspiring kind of a thing. And moreover, I want them to then look and say, I want to be part of the industry that creates that. I want to be part of the industry that creates that feeling, that makes me feel this way, that generates this excitement within me. And I want to just give a quick shout out, if I could, to George and Rich, the so-called bald guys of AV, for doing their next level learning thing. Because I think they're trying to do something much like that. They're trying to cultivate that love and that passion and that inspiration in young people. The fact that we can create experiences like this, that we can do projection mapping on the Eiffel Tower and make people look up in wonderment. I want people to look at that and say, I want to be part of that. I want to facilitate that. I want to be the future of that. And I think efforts like George's and Rich's are hopefully going to foster and seed the next generation to make us do even better, make us even more wow worthy and even more impressive in the future.
Absolutely. We here in the States, we've got two significant global events happening. One is in 26. We're hosting the North America is hosting the World Cup. Don't throw things at me from Canada or Mexico because it's the entire continent. From where I sit in St. Louis, we could go down 4 hours to Kansas City, which is hosting a match. Where Mr. Farisi is, they're hosting a match as well. Craig, I don't know if you and Danny are anywhere within driving distance of any.
I think there's one in Austin where I'm
Is
located
there one in
too.
Austin? There's one in Austin? Wow. Okay.
I'm pretty sure somewhere in Miami.
I would assume somewhere in Florida, Danny, just generically, but yeah. And then also in LA. And then, of course, 2028 is the next home of the Olympics is in 2028. And we all might know one or two people that live there. So,
I want
yes.
to lean into what Dan said. I agree. And there's actually, Dan, there's some other people I would call out, like Richard Sasson from Crestron.
Yep.
He's really leaning into this idea of helping to get a young generation in place. And I'm glad you brought that up. We, there was a great opportunity missed there. And I love it when there's something that comes together and it does create those opportunities for people to see modern technology applied. It involves everything from programming to experiential understanding to coordination, project management, and because I had that concern. Most of us probably got into this industry because some way, form, shape, or another, we kind of fell into it. I did an interview with Danny before, and he told me his story, so I know he kind of did a little bit too.
Yeah.
But we have such a great opportunity with these upcoming marquee elements to drive interest, create a visibility of what we're doing here. I hope we take advantage of it.
Yeah, if you really can wow people and make them feel like, man, I want to be a part of the team that created that. I mean, the way that I'm feeling right now, I want to evoke that feeling in others. Like, I think that's the best way to drive people into our
Absolutely.
industry.
All right. Last story here. Q-SYS has opened up its state-of-the-art APAC Experience and Training Center in Singapore. This strategic facility is located near Singapore's bustling central business district, represents a major investment in the region and a commitment to innovation. The center will serve as a hub for Q-SYS operations across APAC, as well as offering partners and customers hands-on experience with Q-SYS audio, video, and control technologies. Company executives emphasize that this new space is designed to inspire and empower industry professionals from integrators to end users, fostering growth and pushing the boundaries of AV technologies. Danny, we're going to start with you because you spent 2 weeks in the Experience Center
Yep.
there. So, how important are these? Really, seriously, I mean, not to be silly here, but you guys at Call One, you've got one there in Florida. So, how important are they for AV specifiers, for folks that are responsible for pulling the trigger and submitting a PO?
Yeah, so it's almost become absolutely critical because think about a really expensive car. Would you buy one sight unseen, never driven it, never understood where all the controls are, what buttons to push, how to change the gear shift? Would you buy it, or would you prefer to have a test drive to understand how it feels, how it looks, and how it drives? And so that's what our customer experience center does. It gives customers an opportunity to essentially test drive across multiple brands and platforms. So we have Zoom rooms and Teams rooms. We have multiple brands from Logitech, Neat, Jabra, HP Poly, Yealink, Owl Labs, D10, Airtame, ScreenBeam, ClickShare, and the list goes on, Yamaha. And so they have the ability not only to see that it's not one singular piece of equipment, it's a complete collaboration ecosystem made up of displays, made up of the touch controller, the tap scheduler, the platform, the software that manages it, and the device management of all these devices that actually creates that magic. And then all those little peripherals like the content cameras and again, the little schedulers outside the door and all the other little pieces that are required, like the little center of table cameras now that are becoming so popular. It's all these little things put together that create these collaboration spaces for clients to come in and focus on business and not the technology. But like I said, I've done so many demos now. It always baffles me because customers come in and literally their heads explode because they've never seen this type of technology or they weren't even aware that it existed. And so this is what we're able to provide customers is that ability to actually be exposed to technology they never would have heard of or even considered until they were there. And then they can start, you see the wheels spinning when they're in our spaces and we start showing them the different solutions that are available. Oh, we could use this here. Oh, I didn't know that you could do that. Oh, I could. So it really fantastic. And I don't know how else you could show off this technology without actually demonstrating it. And I'm really privileged, all right, that we have that opportunity to show customers because typically to see what we have in our customer experience center, you have to go to a trade show. You have to go to Infocom. You got to go to what's that, Enterprise Connect to see all this technology under one roof. If they want to see it, they can come book a demo and they can see it year round at Call One. So it's kind of awesome.
Parisi, same kind of question. And you're in New York, where a handful of them are. So how important are these spaces?
I think that they're incredibly important. And of course, I mean, these are not just for end users. I mean, they're also for integrators, they're for consultants. I mean, those channel partners can bring their clients in, give them an opportunity, as Danny said, to get that hands on test drive, so to speak. I think it really is refreshing. Just going back to what I was saying about, the trade shows of yesteryear where you'd go to the booths, they'd be festooned with black boxes. Now it is much more about systems. It's much more about environment, seeing systems actually in situ with items connected to each other to give you the real experience. And again, experience is what it's all about. I like to say it's probably a cliche of mine that integrators are memory makers, they're storytellers, they're smile generators, but that doesn't come with any particular piece of equipment. That comes from an integrated system. And the only way you can really have that smile or make that memory or have that story being told is to see it fully in situ with the full integrated system in place. So I really like it. I love the idea. And I love the fact that they are actively asking for integrators and consultants and channel partners to leverage the showroom essentially to help close that sale or get that system up and running and sold.
Well, I say what I like about this story is that Q-SYS is making effort here to expand in the Asia Pacific market and leverage that Singapore base. I think there's a lot of key cities out there. Singapore's one, London's another one, Paris winds up being another one. But you kind of alluded to this before. New York actually is a hub of experience centers, sometimes called EVCs. There's an interesting video series that I'm working on for this fall in partnership with a lot of these people. But if you think about it, it looks like this. If I'm, like Dan said, I'm that integrator, I'm that partner, or I'm that in customer, I can go and land into a city like New York. And in the morning, I can go to the WebEx Experience Center. And in the afternoon, I can go to the HP Poly Center. And then the next day, I can get up in the morning and go to Zoom. Crestron is about to open one there as well, too. And in some of these core cities, Danny's got the experience because as he's already the channel and he's doing all these multiple vendors, but there's also this chance to take advantage of those geographic locations, those cities too, that you can actually land and expand and see all these different ecosystems based upon, their best, let them put their best foot forward and see what's happening as well.
Yeah, I will want a link to that video series when it comes out, because you're right, Craig, because you've also got Google has a space in New York. Samsung has a very nice experiential center. Microsoft's got one there close to Parisi. That's the one close to New York Times, right? The Microsoft one, yeah. There's several around there. So, all right, guys, that will do it. Thank you all so much. Hayasaka, I'm going to give you the key point here because you were nice enough to jump in at literally the last second. How do people connect with you or call one?
Yeah, so you can reach out to me. I'm on LinkedIn at Danny Hayasaka. Please follow me. I post demo videos constantly, or you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, YouTube at Call One Inc., or you can follow us at call1inc.com.
All right, thank you so much, sir. Craig Durr, how do people connect with you or Collab Collective?
Very similar to Collab Collective. You can go to the Collab-Collective website, learn about the services that we offer both to vendors and to IT buyers. But you can connect with me on social channels at Craig Durr on LinkedIn, at Craig Durr on Twitter. And I'm going to double reinforce. I think Danny is the best demo guy out there. There are some incredible videos, and I really encourage you guys to go follow him. Everything he just talked about now, you can see online, which is fantastic.
Yeah, you just did it. Like you did 2 this week, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're crazy.
There's more coming.
Mr. Parisi, you and I get to hang out in Denver. I want you to talk about that for a second. And then, of course, where people can connect with you or commercial integrator or the security sales and integrator.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So yes, we're going to be at CD Expo and Commercial Integrator Expo coming your way early September, I believe the 4th to the 7th in Denver. So we're going to have a really robust conference and of course the trade show element, the networking element. And what I really love about it is it brings together the residential and custom home worlds and the commercial AV worlds all in one merged, co-located show floor. So there's going to be a lot of synergies, a lot of just recognizing that there's more that brings together the technology trades than divides us. So new opportunities, new areas for growth potentially. I think it's going to be really impactful several days in Denver. I hope to see you there in early September, and I look forward to seeing you there, Tim. You can find me on Twitter or X at Dan Parisi Edit, of course on LinkedIn as well. I'm not as active as I once was. There's so much going on these days. I'm not always as active as I wish I were, but please do find me and track me down. And of course, commercialintegrator.com and securitysales.com.
He's a busy guy. He's got 2 magazines he's taking care of now, not just one. So, all right. For me, for Tim Albright, do not follow me on anything because I'm not very interesting. Just for the record, the Bears played this week and they won. That's all I'm going to say about that. But go by the website if you would, please. AVNation.tv. That's AVNation.tv. You'll find this program and a host of others. As Mr. Parisi just told you, the 4th through the 7th of September is where we will be in Denver, 4th through the 7th of September for Commercial Integrator Expo and CEDIA Expo. Our previews start in about a week, so you can check all that out and more at the website, avnation.tv. That's avnation.tv. Thanks so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. That's all the time we have for AV Week.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.